Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. I am joined today by Pittsburgh Steelers legend, two-time Pro Bowl, two-time first-team All-Pro, Super Bowl 30 starter, Clemson University alumni, and current vice president of, is it player development or is it outreach?
No, vice president of development with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay. Vice president of development of the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame.
Mouthful.
Yeah. And is Levon or Lorenzo Kirkland?
Well, my first name is Lorenzo, but everybody calls me Levon. So feel free to call me Levon.
Levon. All right. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. So Levon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. The weather is kind of yucky outside, but other than that, I'm having a good time, just chilling out, watching a little football.
Absolutely. No, it's perfect time of year to, for football and, Clemson and obviously, South Carolina, right? It's a huge football community over there.
The state of South Carolina loves its football. And, it's one of the rare states that have two Division I schools that are only about 2 hours away from each other. So you're either Clemson or you're either South Carolina. So that's the unique thing about it. It's a 365-day war. If you lose, you're going to have to hear about it all year round. If you win, you got bragging rights.
Right.
So fortunately for the Tigers, they've been winning for, I think, the last 7 games they won against South Carolina. So it's been a long time as far as bragging rights are concerned.
Absolutely. No, definitely. No, the Clemson Tigers, a great football program. And I think that's a perfect segue. So pretty much we can start from your early life. What was your first sport? Was football always your first love, or how did you break into football?
Yeah, football was kind of my first love. I have older brothers, and they play the game. I used to watch it religiously. It didn't come on as much as it does now, but I did watch it a great deal. College football, NFL football, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and just had a big imagination. Just go outside and just throw the ball around, man. And, just one day I just said, I'm going to play pro ball.
Right.
And absolutely. I just believed it. I guess I guess they call it manifesting now.
Yeah.
I just had I just knew I was going to. I don't know how I knew that. I guess that was just a signal, God talking to me. And, it happened. It really did.
It really did. And kind of, for me too, I got into football late. So you're an early bloomer. I was a late bloomer, but I also have 2 brothers. But I wasn't able to play in high school, but I played JUCO and I was able to play arena, kind of make like a little AIF career. So my last guest, Marcus Ogden, he also played in the AIF after his career in the league wrapped up. And so I don't know if you're familiar with any of the teams in North Carolina, but the Cape Fear Heroes was the last game I played in the AIF. Yeah. And so this ring right here is the California Eagles.
Oh, wow. You're decorated. Look at you. Man.
Yeah, West Valley College, Cal Eagles, and Chicago Falcons. The last team I played for in 2018, the semi-pro team. So
you got some hardware there. You got some jewelry.
Yeah, and if I pull this up a little bit, that little kind of diamond thing looking right.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, that's the Iron Falcon where I won with the Chicago Falcons. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's and that's why I love having it's so great to see kind of Hall of Famers, talents like yourself, former league veterans like Marcus, and on LinkedIn, because this podcast and platform is kind of to grow that community, right? That connection of right. And I mean, I just obviously I've read about kind of all the things you've been doing recently, and we'll get there, but I just think your journey, how it shaped you, is kind of something that's really inspirational to a lot of our listeners and to me personally too. So.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I feel that my experience and knowledge is not just for myself, but it's for other people. So I'm trying to develop that message a little bit more, give that back to especially student athletes as we journey with them on their path to success. So, my tagline is educate, empower, and encourage.
100%. So I love it.
It's been good, it's been something. It has been. So we will hopefully grow a little bit more. I'm actually taking a little bit of a break for the New Year's. So I haven't really been doing a lot this last week, but when January the 3rd come up, I'll be at it again.
Yes, sir. You're a star, you gotta hit it,
Yeah, definitely so.
Definitely so. It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. So, kind of talk to me, kind of, when you were in high school, were you always a linebacker or on defense, or did you play multiple positions?
I play multiple positions. I on defense, I play linebacker, but believe it or not, I was a punt returner, kickoff returner.
Special
I
teams,
also
like,
played, yeah, I also
I love
played a
it.
little bit of, I played wide receiver, tight end. Early in my career, my first year, I played a little bit of offensive guard. So I've done a lot. And, in high school, I also played basketball and ran track. And I really feel that being in different sports really allowed me to be better in football.
I just finished reading Sky Pippen's autobiography on Guarded, and he kind of talked about how football was his first love, but it helped shape and build that kind of toughness for him to transition to his NBA career. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, I mean, anyone, and you obviously are perfect attestation to it. Obviously, being involved in multiple sports kind of helps shape and build your character, and we've seen it with multiple greats in the NFL.
Yeah, I think sports really does that. I think it gives you tremendous soft skills, how to work with diversity, working with teammates, how to deal with losing, building goals. It teaches you so much, no matter what sport you play. But I really believe that if you're a student athlete and you want to get better in the main sport, do other sports.
Right,
Because,
100%.
you got a lot of guys who are out here training and developing guys on that one sport. I feel like it's better if you do multiple sports as a kid. And,
Yeah,
and that can be a part of your training, getting in shape, but now you're learning different dynamics of movement. And I thought playing basketball really helped me as far as my man-to-man coverage, as far as catching. Because in basketball, you have to catch a lot.
right.
And so people are always surprised when I went on the next level that I knew how to catch the ball as well as I did. So I think playing basketball really helped me as far as cover skills, moving laterally. And although I didn't play this as an official sport because we didn't have it, my cousin and I, we would play tennis a great deal. And if you know anything about tennis, man, it's great lateral movement, works on your quickness, hand-eye coordination. So I always thought that training mean being involved and being, not just lifting weights and all that, but actually participating in different sports.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, because from my experience too, I started off playing soccer, actually Little League baseball, and then I moved
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to soccer to be a goalie. And what do you do when you're a goalie, right?
Yeah, man.
Just like that, right?
All the time.
All
Different
that.
angles.
Yeah,
You have to adjust your body. Yeah.
always.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and for the kids, and because I coach at Whitney High School, so I mean, there may be some prospective high school kind of student athletes listening to this. So if you're listening, definitely take it from Levon Kirkland himself, right? Definitely get involved in multiple sports if you can.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to make you a better athlete overall.
100%, 100%. So kind of, with that, when you, around your senior year, when you're being recruited, kind of what set Clemson apart? Kind of describe your recruiting process.
Wow, I really got discovered more so.
Okay, yeah.
If you think about it, back then, there were not any recruiting services really out there.
Right.
And if they were, they didn't really reach Lamar, South Carolina.
Yeah.
You know that the news really traveled slow back in those days.
Right,
I mean, compared to today, man, it was like horse and buggy,
Yeah.
a Pony Express.
Yeah.
Back then in 86, 87. So my junior year, how I got recruited is basically we were playing a playoff game against a pretty good team that had all kind of resources, and they were near Columbia. It was Chapin High School. And those guys came to us, man. They had like 5 different buses, man. They had offense, defense, special teams. And we had our 35 guys,
Yeah.
and most of those guys had to play offense, defense, and special teams. Yeah. So you're gonna play your best players, right?
Right.
Regardless, because you can't afford not to.
100%.
So
Right.
I just remember that my coach came out to me just before the game, and he just told me, "There's some recruiters out here." That's all he told me, and I'm like, "Cool. That's all I need to know." And I just had a fantastic game that game. Just had a really good game. The next week, South Carolina sent me a letter because they were the ones they were out in the crowd. And they were probably watching the guys they were supposed to watch. But then they started watching me and like, man, this dude can play. Like, who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Yeah.
And that's and South Carolina kind of started it. And then the next week got a letter from Clemson University. But my senior year, Clemson really stepped up. The recruiter, Miles Aldridge, was an inside linebackers coach. I played more outside, and I played that in college, but he really recruited me well. And what I meant by that is he built a relationship with me. He recruited me like I was a 3 or 4 star guy, 5-star guy. He really did. He didn't promise me anything, but he thought like, I really think you're a great athlete. I hope we can give you an opportunity here at Clemson University. And once I visit Clemson, that was it. I just made my decision that that's where I was going to go. And it worked out. It really did. I didn't have to go anywhere else. I just kind of trusted myself. And I just felt like Clemson was the place for me.
And you know, kind of that intrinsic feeling when you visit the campus, right? It's just kind of sometimes that can't really be explained, you know, because you know,
Right.
I coached right before COVID hit, the 2019 season, high school varsity, and we also had, you know, kind of, you know, when the recruiters came in to kind of look at us juniors, look at the seniors, right, for the seniors that they've already done their initial evaluations on. You know, obviously, like, you know, one thing that the University of Nevada recruiter is interesting. The University of Nevada recruiter was actually friends with my high school coach.
Right.
I don't know if you know Sean Mannion. He's on the Vikings. But yeah, his dad was our high school coach, and so
Oh,
John
wow.
Mannion. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so basically, you know, when he came, you know, he was saying, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, you want to foot? I'm like, yeah, but like, you know, I didn't play in high school. I want to play JUCO, and he's like, oh yeah, but he's like, Manny knows me. Yeah, Manny knows me. He kind of helped work with me my senior year, so I could, you know, get the skills and learn the position to play well enough. So when I go to JUCO, I'm not fish out of water, even though I end up being fish out of water anyways. But I mean, it was still good, you know, to kind of get those kind of fundamentals, but also just kind of seeing the recruiters came from all the, you know, major campuses, Nevada, Cal, you know, come visit and kind of see the kids and kind of, you know, give them the right speeches. I agree wholeheartedly. Interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationship building with, you know, the student athlete is key to kind of gain that buy-in, you know?
It really is. And you know, these kids are, I mean, they're smart.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing I didn't really like about the South Carolina recruiting was the guy was promising me so much. You're going to start. And I knew that I needed to develop as a player.
Right.
I understood that. So for me being redshirted wasn't a big deal for me because I really felt like I can get it done. You know, I just need the opportunity. And once I developed as an athlete and also as a player, man, the sky was the limit. And I'm glad that the Clemson guy Miles Aldridge really recruited me in that fashion. You know, hey, I'm going to be authentic with you. I'm going to tell you the truth. And whatever the results are the results. I didn't really need the promises. I didn't really need you're going to start right away. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. I just needed somebody to say, hey, here's an opportunity. What are you going to do with that opportunity?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of talk to me. How was your college experience when you first walked on Clemson and you started, you know, your freshman year and then progressing your senior year?
I'm gonna tell you, my first year, I was kind of one of those guys who would read the program, right? Yeah. You know, those really thick programs they would send you in the mail.
Oh, the D1. The books,
yeah. I read like everybody's bio and everything. So honestly, I knew pretty much everybody on the team, at least by their bio. I knew where they were from, and I guarantee you, nobody knew who the heck I was. Nobody knew who the heck I was, man. And I was a skinny kid, about 205 pounds.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a good experience for me. It really was. You know, high school really trained me well as far as I knew how to work.
Right.
And I was going to outwork you. Now, did I have all the skills and the strength? No, I had to develop that. And I was ready to do that. I got redshirted my first year, but I just remember a coach coming up to me. He was actually a GA, and he was like, if you keep working the way you're working, kid, you're going to be one of the best linebackers ever played here. And I just accepted it. I was like, cool. All right. I want to be one of the best linebackers play here. And, you know, after that first year, I developed. I got a little bigger, stronger. I was already pretty athletic. And I ended up playing my redshirt freshman year.
Right.
And I end up really making a lot of plays. And I was kind of like, I start one game, there's another guy who started another game. And so it went all the way that way until like maybe probably until the third to the last game.
Right.
When one of the other linebackers told our coach that you need to start him, that he needs to play more. We play better when he's in there.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I really didn't know the scheme as well, but I knew how to make plays. I knew how to get to the ball. And I did that. Actually, we played the ACC championship, and I ended up making like 13 tackles, had a sack, had an interception. So I could make plays.
Yeah.
And so funny, the next year, I went to Gene Chizik, who became the Auburn coach when they won the national championship.
Gene Chizik, yeah. Right.
He was a GA.
GA, okay.
And I came up to him, man. I was like, hey, Chiz, could you help me understand the scheme? Help me understand what I'm doing. And he was like, absolutely. I am so glad you came up to me, man. He's like, you got all the tools to be a great player. And for some reason, man, I just went to him and just asked for help. And, that's what we try to, when I talk to different arenas or different events, one of the things I always say is you got to lean on your teammates. You got to lean on your family. You got to lean on your close loved ones, your friends. And I really leaned on Gene Chizik. And I was like, Gene, help me out. And he's like, he said, absolutely. And we never really had a set time. We would just run into each other and we'll talk. And he would sit me down and he'll just say, well, I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do by showing you what everybody else is supposed to do. And that sophomore year, I ended up being all ACC that year. I ended up playing very well, minimal mistakes that I would really make, unless they were like boneheaded mistakes,
Yeah,
Other than that, I wasn't making the mistakes on the assignments. And so, my junior year, I ended up being one of the finalists for the Buckets Award, all ACC again, probably like a second team All-American perhaps. And then my senior year, I was touted as one of the better guys coming out. So it worked well for me. It really did. And it was a lot of fun. I had a great time at Clemson. There was nothing like running down the hill. It was nothing like playing football in Clemson, South Carolina on a Saturday. It really wasn't. And I just had a great time. I really did. Had great teammates. We were number one defense at one point in time. So it was good. And, good competition and everything. I really enjoyed it.
That's the best part, right? Because you got to really kind of look back fondly on those times, as opposed to some athletes who may look at college as like, oh frick, we have to fucking grind and do all this kind of stuff, and coach is gonna make us run 2-a-days, right? And I mean, but for you, obviously, you look at it fondly because you're able to take that challenge, accept it, and just run full force with it, and basically, realize your maximum potential as an athlete.
Oh yeah, no question about it, no joke. I just loved the game so much that I didn't mind practice. Practice to me wasn't really that hard. It was fun because I was the kind of guy who worked in the tobacco fields, things like.
Yeah,
I was one of those guys who did like hard labor.
Absolutely, right? Yeah.
And my father, was kind of strict. He wasn't terribly strict, but he's definitely strict.
Right.
And I had to ask him to go to practice every day. I had to ask him to go to the games. And I played for 3 years. I was like the MVP of the team my junior year in high school. And I still have to ask my father, could I go to practice? So it was a tough upbringing. So football to me was more of a release. It was hard work, of course, but it didn't seem like that to me. It just seemed like it was just a lot of fun. I had fun practicing. I definitely had fun playing a game. It was hard work, but I like it. I really enjoy the physical part of it.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about your transition to the highest level, to the NFL, right? What was your draft experience like? Kind of your combine, all that.
Okay, sure. My draft experience was it was fun. It was different than it is now. We didn't really have a pro day,
right?
So you basically was by the phone. And thank God for answering machines. And you still had those landlines back then.
Yeah.
So So coaches would call you and be like, "Hey, we're coming there Tuesday. Can you work out?" Well, I'm going to say no. Yeah. So you end up working out about 10 different times before the combines. Well, no, after the combines. The combines is something, it's so funny because when you're in college, you really want to go to the combine. You can't wait to go to the combine.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the combine, you absolutely hated it. I personally hated the combine.
Yeah.
The part I didn't like, which I think they can really do, they can just really throw this part away, is when they have you shirtless.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like you only got a girdle and a jock strap on, and you're parading around, turn to the left, turn to the right. That's arcaded, man. That is so, they should do away with that.
Yeah.
They should do away with that. It's like, I'm not going to say it's the slave trade, but it kind of felt that way.
I was gonna say, did you see Kaepernick's black and white?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll make sure.
Now, the only thing though, it was everybody. It wasn't just blacks. It was
absolutely
whites and whites or whoever could play.
Right.
So in that way, it wasn't just African Americans, but I mean, to African Americans, it
brings back that, right? Yeah.
Like when I was doing it, I guess it was fine because you're trying to get to the highest level, and you don't look at it that way. But man, as you look back, you're just like, God, that was just degrading. Like, I will almost tell anybody, especially if they're a first rounder or whatever, don't do the combine.
Don't do it.
Just do your pro day.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come to your pro day. You don't have to. I think the combines are still good for guys who are in the, I would say from the late second to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, guys who haven't been really recognized. But guess what? They invite you to come to the combine, so they know all about you.
Right. Absolutely.
They know all about you. So really, honestly, as a player, you can just say, well, check me out on my pro day.
That's simple.
That's simple. You can just, because I'm telling you, man, there was nothing more horrible than parading around with nothing on. You see the Tom Brady.
Yeah, the Tom Brady. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care for the combines. I mean, I wanted to go, but it was kind of like a status thing, Yeah. And then when you get there, you're like, geez, this sucked. It really did. But I mean, other than that, I mean, the time I got drafted, the day I got drafted, it was really funny because I wanted to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I grew up not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan at all. I was a Dallas guy. And I just remember talking to the Pittsburgh Steelers throughout the process. Coach Kyle was a very young coach, and I was like, man, I would love to play with that guy.
Yeah.
And so when the draft came about, the 38th pick, I went into the bathroom and I looked at the mirror and I was like, they're going to pick me. They're going to pick me. They're going to pick me. I actually went to the table, the kitchen table, and sat by the phone. And the phone rang. The phone rings. I'm like, okay. So I pick up the phone and it was like, Tom Donahoe called me. He's like, hey, Levon, this is Tom Donahoe with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're really considering picking you this next pick. And I'm like, oh, considering, okay. Then another guy named Charles Bailey comes on, and he's like, hey, Kirkland. As I kind of talks, Kirkland, do y'all have cable TV in Lamar, South Carolina? I'm like, yeah, we got cable TV. He's like, do you guys have ESPN? I'm like, yeah, it comes with a basic package. I'm like, don't play with my feelings here. He said, okay, what I want you to do is look at the ticker, and they're going to have your name come across, man. Welcome to the black and gold. I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Because I was 11 years old when I truly thought and really believed that I was going to play pro ball. And there was no doubt in my mind. To that point, I was too happy. I was, man. I was just happy to be drafted. It was all good. But the funny thing about being drafted is almost like when you get married. You have that wedding, it's all good, but now you're married.
Nah.
Yeah. And now you got to go to work. And that's how the draft was. I mean, that first day, you go there and you see the competition, you see the grown men, and you're just a kid out of college. And these guys are savvy. These guys are smart. They're athletic. They've been there for a while, so they know so much more football than you do. And then plus a lot of them have kids and mortgages.
Yeah.
And you never want to mess with that guy who has kids and a mortgage, man. He has something to play for. So when I first got there, I quickly learned that, dude, you're gonna have to really put it down. You're gonna have to really earn your spot.
100%. And now we can talk about that, right? Because I think I saw Mark Schlereth talk about, even back then when he was drafting 8-9, he said he got to Redskins camp and he saw Russ Grimm and Dexter Manley just, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how was that experience like for you? Like, hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL.
Oh, man, I saw these guys, Damani Dawson and a guy named Carlton Hasseret.
Yeah.
Oh. I saw those guys and how they move. They move like linebackers. And it's like, how am I supposed to beat those guys? And plus, I was playing a new position. I played outside defensive end at Clemson. Now they're moving me inside, where now you have to be kind of more of a cerebral player, and you have to be smarter, and you have to kind of understand what teams are doing. And so I have the athletic ability, but it took me about a year to really kind of play the position. And after, I ended up starting my second year. And then I had to learn how to be a leader. I had to learn how to take control of the huddle, even with guys who were Pro Bowl players like Rod Woodson, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green.
Yeah, Kevin Green, recipes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm in front making the calls, looking at the sideline. So my game really changed drastically, where I was kind of more of a hype guy in college, jump around, pumping up the fans. And then when I got to the NFL, and especially when I started and I was an inside backer and I realized all the responsibilities that I had and how physically and mentally draining that position can be, my game changed a lot. I kind of settled down. I kind of woosah, I knew I couldn't get too high, because the next play I had to be ready to make sure I did my job well. So my game changed a lot as far as, the intensity didn't change, but I was not a celebrator like I was in college. And plus I had Bill Cowher telling me, when I got the job, he told me, like, you got to take control of the huddle. And I'm like, I have never taken control of a huddle in my life. And that's all he told me. He didn't even say how to do it. He just said, you got to do it. And you know what I started doing? I just pretended that I was that guy. I just pretended. I was just like, let me fake it until I make it.
That's it.
And that's what I did. I just faked it. And it just happened to work out.
But it's funny. That's actually a principle that can be translated to corporate life too, right? Because sometimes just, hey, fake it until you make it. Perception's everything.
Fake it, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can drive perception, eventually it'll materialize,
Yeah, you just got to pretend you're already that person. Just go ahead and pretend. Just like whoever you want to be, just go ahead and be that person.
100%.
And you may not be that person right at the bat, but you will grow into that role. And I felt like that's what happened to me. I grew into the role.
So obviously, you had to obviously adjust and change to a new position in a new role in a new scheme, and you were able to, eventually get to that level, of being one of the elite, players ever, at the inside linebacker position. Talk to me about kind of, when you guys, your first couple of years, and then that Super Bowl run, 95.
Yeah, that was such a, we had those first 6 years, man, they were great.
Yeah. Because
we had innovative coaching staff. And we really did the blitz. They started calling it Blitzburg, but it was just, we did a lot of fire zones.
Right.
And we had the guys who could do it, man. And we were just innovative at the time, where if you were a quarterback and you were under center, you were dead meat. I think you were dead meat. Yeah. We were really, I think, maybe not the first ones to do it, but I think we made it really popular to do, as far as, everybody walking to the line of scrimmage. And so it made it so hard for the offensive lineman to recognize who to block. We did a lot of crossings. We brought guys from the secondary. We dropped defensive linemen at times. So at that time, nobody was really comfortable or used to playing against that. And plus, we played a 3-4, which was really something a lot of teams didn't do. A lot more teams played 4-3 than 3-4. So we were, instead of having that one middle linebacker, we had two inside back guys. Our outside guys played on one side, so they never switched. So it made it really easy for us. And then we had a nose guard that was an incredible guy who could really take on two blockers. Our D-line did a good job of taking on blockers. So it allowed the linebackers to really make a lot of plays. And so it was a lot of fun. It really was, man. Chad Brown, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, myself, man, we were a great combination. We really were. And, we had Rod Woodson, Carnell Lake, Darren Perry, Deion Figures, Willie Williams, had guys like Jason Gilden coming off the bench. We had a bunch of dudes. And it was a lot of fun. It really was.
And obviously with that all-time defense and the depth you guys had, that helped kind of carry you guys, in that 95 season. I'm not sure if your season was completely just full steam ahead and, but there must have been some roadblocks or challenges where your depth basically came in handy, right?
Honestly, the 94 team was the better team.
Really?
As far as the defense is concerned.
Okay.
It was a better team. It really was. We were healthy. We were just, we got after it. The 95 year, we really struggled at first. We were 3-4. We started out 3-4.
Wow.
It didn't look like we were going to the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
But, it came along. We had a bye after we lost to Cincinnati on national TV.
Wow.
Before we had the bye. It was bad. We were discombobulated. And so we come back after that and we're like, we come to the meeting room and the normal stuff that's on the board, like the teams we're playing, did we meet our goals? All of it was clean, right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, wow, okay, that's strange. And I've been there for this is like going on my 5th year. Or no, actually going on my 4th year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay. So Bill Cowher tells us that our season starts now. We're 0-0. Our first opponent is Jacksonville. So I want you to forget about that 3-4. So we beat Jacksonville. And we started adapting that we're 1-0, even though we are 4-4 in the standings. But to us, we're 1-0. The next week we go to Chicago. Chicago's playing well. They're 5-2 or something like that. We beat them in overtime. Now we're 2-0. So everybody is kind of buying into it. And then some of our veteran players were just like, we're hanging out. I don't care if you're married. I don't care who you are. At Friday after practice, we're all hanging out. We're going to go to this local bar and we're going to get to know each other better. I thought we were already a pretty close team, but that made us closer. It really did. We end up winning 8 straight games.
Wow.
And we lost the 9th one on a touchdown pass that was right there. Yancey Thigpen just kind of bounced it off his knee. So we had an incredible run after 3-4.
Yeah.
An incredible run. And we just had the feeling that, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. And because we've been through that AFC championship that we lost, we were 3 yards away from winning it.
Yeah.
And we lost that game. And that was we're like, if we ever get back in that position, we're going to find a way to win. And I'm telling you, it was not easy. The Indianapolis Colts played us down to the wire. It was a Hail Mary throw. We luckily got that thing out of there, and we ended up going to the Super Bowl. So it was a great season.
It's such a phenomenal way to end or kind of get the climax of the season to get you to that promised land. Jim Harbaugh, because I'm a 49ers fan, Jim Harbaugh was obviously the quarterback who threw that pick. And so, that must have been for you also. I mean,
it was whew, man.
Yeah.
They played us so hard. They did. And it was a great game. It really was. Yeah. It was a thriller to the very end.
Man.
I kind of wish I knew how it was when you won the game and you get to go You could celebrate
Right.
with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
No, it was always like, oh my God, are we gonna win?
Are we gonna win?
What's
Yeah.
gonna happen? Yeah. So it's always was. We always did it the tough way.
Yeah.
It was never easy.
Never easy, but hey, when you look back, you can cherish it. But you're right. In the moment, you're like, oh my God, I wish I could.
Yeah.
And that relates to me because I was like, oh my God, I just knew I'm a special team. I'm a rotational sleeper slot. I have to just kind of do my job, make sure I put my team in position to win, right? And then I'm just sitting. If I'm not in the game, I'm watching the sidelines. I'm like, oh, frick, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And I mean, it's you're right. I mean, it's just kind of being in the moment, being present, for kind of getting the job done and kind of, make sure you take care of your assignments, but also kind of, just enjoying the run. It's kind of hard to do that when you're trying to, what I mean? Focus on, it's kind of hard, So
it is tough, but it was a great journey as you look back on it. But man, during the moment, you're just like, could we just win one easy, just one time? But we end up winning, and we end up going to it, and it was wonderful going to the Super Bowl. We didn't win it, but for me as a player, it really helped me because funny story was Matt Millen was a reporter.
really,
And a guy named Al Boyd Mays played with Matt in Washington. And Matt, he really liked me as a player. And he's like, you're the dark horse on the team. And he said, you got everything. He said, the only thing you're not doing, he's like, you're not trusting your eyes enough. He's like, go out there tonight and trust your eyes. And it was my aha moment. I mean, for that moment, I trust my eyes. I was like, everything I see was right. I was like, it's right.
yeah.
Even if it wasn't right, I was like, and it really gave me confidence. And I ended up playing a very good game that year that really propelled me the next year to just work harder. Because I went to the Pro Bowl with Greg Lloyd
right
after that Super Bowl.
Right.
And I saw what it was. And I'm like, I'm coming here next year as a Pro Bowl player.
Yes, sir.
And it was one of those things, again, I said out loud, and it came true. And the very next year, made a Pro Bowl.
Talk to me about
had a great year,
yeah.
Made a Pro Bowl. And, I was a really good linebacker, but that year was the year I really believed in my ability and what I could do.
And I was going to ask, but you were kind of segued into it, kind of that year, that Pro Bowl year. How would you weigh that? Because you had consecutive back-to-back Pro Bowl All-Pro seasons. How would you weigh that up against the Super Bowl year? Because obviously, it's different kind of, because individual success, you basically became the elite, premier linebacker in the league, but obviously team success, right? And I'm sure, so I mean, kind of, how, if you had to rank them, right? I mean, how would you rank them?
That year, I tell you what, that year, the Super Bowl year was the better year.
Yeah.
It was, but it's because I also developed that year. And, halfway through, I was a little concerned about, I'm not getting enough pub. And I was playing a little selfish those first 7 games.
Right.
After those 7 games, I was like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I was like, I'm just going to play to win. I don't care how many tackles I made. I don't care how many big plays I made. I'm just going to play to win. And dude, you know what's funny? I played better.
Yeah.
I absolutely played much better when I just said, you know what? It's a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
I just want to win.
Yeah.
And that was my whole mentality. I really stopped caring about publicity. I didn't care who got the acclaim. I was just like, I'm just playing to win. And dude, I played better. It was so funny. I played better. So when I started coaching on different levels, and I had a guy named he plays with Arizona now, Marcus Goldman, and I told Marcus because he kept worrying about how many sacks he was getting, and the year before he got like 4 sacks, but that's pretty good for a rookie guy. It's not bad.
Absolutely.
And I told him, I was like, and I just sat him aside and said, Marcus, I said, I want you to do this for me. I said, I want you to start thinking about how you can help this team win. Forget about your sacks. Don't worry about sacks or whatever like that. I said, I guarantee you'll have more sacks than you could imagine if you just play to win. That dude ended up having 12 sacks that year.
There you go. There you
Ended up
go.
playing because his mindset was more of a bigger purpose
Right.
than individually. I really believe when you start thinking of others and how you can help them, then you become your individual stats or whatever will become better because you're thinking of something big.
That's translatable to corporate life too in regular, you know what I mean? Because obviously there's a common objective that a team is trying to reach. And I'm sure you give seminars and speeches about this all the time. But you know, when you go out and do more for others, not only does a team perform better, you end up getting more recognition. You know, that's what I found in my career, you know, being able to kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, it's interesting because it's like, you know, like you think, okay, yeah, I need to focus on getting mine. I need to focus on, you know, whatever, get my promotion, gain the Pro Bowl, whatever, right? And it's just, but honestly, the more you think about it, the more you do for others, it comes back to you in return.
Yeah. Because you're not trying to let other people down.
Right.
When you're just thinking about yourself, you will give up more so than you think. You would cut corners, you won't do as much. But when you put other people in the mix and you're serving a bigger purpose, then now your individual efforts will expand and it will get better. And you become a better worker, better manager, whoever you are. You'll become better because you're thinking of the whole outcome. And so when I started thinking about winning more, went better for me.
Easy money. Easy money.
Playing better, man.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously the Pro Bowl seasons and the All Pro seasons, kind of what was your best highlight from both those seasons back to back?
Ooh. I think, well, my first Pro Bowl was the first time I started playing on third down.
Yeah.
I used to play first and second. Greg Lloyd got hurt. It was my opportunity to show people that I was a little bit more versatile than they initially thought. I think people in the league knew it, but for me to be out there on third down, and I had about 4 interceptions the first four weeks of the league. I led our team in interceptions for probably maybe half of the season at linebacker.
Yeah.
And being a big guy like myself, everybody was like, whoa, this big guy is making plays.
Yeah.
He's like, there, he's really making plays. And so now people start saying like, man, this guy's different.
Yeah.
You know, a bigger guy that can run downfield. And I was running downfield, making some interceptions. They weren't just the tip overthrows or anything like that. It was me having coverage on guys actually catching the ball.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I got to display my all-around athletic ability.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, another guest that showed Lofa Tupu, he also played the mic, right? And also
yes.
he moved around. And he said the same thing. When he came out, they said that he was too slow, but he was able to make plays. He was able to, you know, he had good ball skills, you know, good instincts. And that's how he was able to, you know, so become a multi-Pro Bowler and All Pro, right? And
right.
Same thing for you, obviously. And you're obviously a bigger, like you said, you're a bigger guy. But if you're able to make plays, I mean, it doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, yeah.
Well, you know, I was really quick for my size.
Sure.
You know, almost. I had a guy that tell me that, man, you have feet more like a running back than a linebacker.
Right.
And like I said, I played all those other sports, and that really helped me. And I used to jump rope with my sisters. So
there you go.
So if you're a young guy, get your jump rope, man, and go to work. It's going to help you with your quickness. But yeah, I mean, kind of playing out that way. But I think that was probably the great thing about it. I was able to display my skills. And other people saw like, man, this guy's not just a run stopper, but this guy can cover, which people in the game knew it. You know, other teams, other players, other coaches knew I can do all that. But it was nice to see the mainstream media like, wow, this guy, okay, he really is something different. So
100%. Don't you get that? You know you made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So obviously then you get named to the 1990s All-Decade team and when you're winding down in Pittsburgh. So kind of talk to me about what that honor felt like, you know, to be a member of that team.
Man, I never knew that was going to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was great. It really was, because, you know, you're not talking about just you're talking about over a span of 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
That people really respect what you did. And that was my biggest thing. There are guys who are going to make the Hall of Fame, no question about it. And then there are guys who probably won't make the Hall of Fame, but people who play them, the Hall of Famers, know exactly who they are. And that's a respect level that I think that I've had throughout my career. That during those 90s, everybody knew exactly who I was, and they knew that I was a player. And they knew that I was going to come each and every time. And that's what you want sometimes. You may not get all the accolades. You may not get all the commercials. You may not be marketable to certain companies. But as far as the game is concerned, you can put it down. And that's all I ever wanted.
And you definitely got it. And so let's talk about your final years in the league. After Pittsburgh, I think you went somewhere before Philadelphia, but where was it?
Seattle.
Seattle. How was that like for you? In that?
Seattle was good, man, because it really kind of made me a leader. I wasn't the player that I was before, but I was a leader, and Seattle wanted me, and it was a good feeling. And I really think I helped out the young guys. More importantly, I had the locker room a little bit loose because in Seattle, man, it was a little uptight. We had Mike Holmgren, man, and Mike Holmgren, I'm telling you, man, they used to call him the Big Show. You know who the Big Show is?
Yeah, the wrestler. It's 500 pounds.
He was like the wrestler. So everybody kind of liked, everybody called him Big Show. And he was kind of intimidating. Yeah. And the guys wouldn't loosen up. Yeah. And, I was like, man, after Friday, man, we good. We already prepared. I was always like this. I'm going to prepare through the week. But after that preparation, man, when it comes to Saturday, I'm loose. Because I felt like I've done everything. There's, some guys, and, everybody's different. Some guys, they study and study and study and study. I wasn't quite that guy. Like, I had to let it go first. Then I would go into the game. And honestly, on defense, I felt like, well, they can do anything they want. We may know their tendencies, but that doesn't really mean it's 100%. So I just kind of play to play.
Yeah.
I just played what was happening.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to guess what they were doing. I wasn't trying to think what they were doing. I just kind of like, okay, they're doing this. Let me do this. They're running to our right. Let me go meet the ball. It was simple to me.
100%. And obviously, you wrapped up your career in Philadelphia, made an NFC Championship game, lost Don McNabb, and it was a great. You lost to John Gruden, and then that all-star defense. So I mean, you had a great kind of run to close out your career. And so, any parting? What's the biggest takeaway from your overall career playing, and kind of for our viewers to end out? Close out.
I think in everything you just have to appreciate the opportunities and the now.
Yeah.
And really, I think like as kids, they live fully. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we as adults, we worry about the future. We think about the past. And none of that stuff is promised to us, especially the future. So I feel like if anything out of your life, man, live every day to its fullest, 100%. You do that, it's going to be all good. 100%. It's going to be all good. But if you worry about all that other stuff, you're going to continue to be stressed. And I always feel like a stressed mind cannot perform.
Agree 100%. Agree 100%. Great words of wisdom. I know we're out of time. So Levon Kirkland, thank you for your time joining the Digital Dreaming off the Gridiron podcast. And happy New Year's. Stay safe, and hope to do this again soon.
All right, man. I had a lot of fun. Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.